I had been going to our local hospital's rehab slash fitness room to exercise and work out on the recommendation of my doctor because my blood pressure had slowly begun to rise, which I had never had a problem with. So that should have been an indication that there was something going on. But after 5 months, my blood pressure came back down, and so it didn't seem like any problem. However, once I got to our town, I realized I have time now to go for my exercise. So instead of turning right to go get the tires changed, I made a decision and turned left and went to our hospital's rehab fitness room. Well, I parked the car, went downstairs, changed, came back up, said hi to the staff people that were in the room, stretched, sat down and did what I thought were a modest 20 arm curls. And I stood up, and the strangest thing happened. Both of my forearms started tingling like they had fallen asleep. And I remember the last thing I did remember was looking down at both of my forearms and wondering what was going on. So one moment I'm standing next to this arm curl bench, and a moment later, I found myself in a completely different dimension. I didn't know why I was there, because it certainly wasn't the fitness room, but I didn't feel anything other than being welcomed. I didn't feel anything other than this overwhelming sense of love that came to me. It was a sense of, wow, I know everything there is to know. And in that moment of realization, I understood that I was floating, but it wasn't on water waves. It was what I can explain as energetic waves that were coming towards me. I was floating on these waves, and they were coming towards me because I could see them, but yet they were also passing through me, which I thought was really interesting because I had never experienced anything like that before, at least not here. When I looked up, I saw what I will describe as a gigantic golden, yellow, glowing, pulsing sphere that filled up the whole dimension of what was in front of me. And this is where the sense of love, the sense of all knowledge, the sense of welcoming was coming from. And looking back on it, I didn't realize at that moment that I had died or was lying on the hospital fitness floor. That realization or that correlation came much later. But when I was looking at this golden sphere, I turned to see, I saw what I'll describe as little sparkles shooting out from it all over the surface of it, billions upon billions. I mean, billions doesn't even cover the number in our language, but they were shooting out all over the surface of this and heading into different directions. And I decided to look to see where they were going because I understood that this was some form of energetic release, propulsion, something of that sort. When I looked to my right, what I saw is what I can best explain as an infinite multitude of dimensions and universes. And it was easily recognizable. To describe it, I'm going to ask you to consider everything in our universe, the one we're presently in. all of the dimensions of it, the depth, the planets, the stars, everything you can think of, and compress that down into what I'll say, let's say a single sheet of paper. And then you suspend that over here in this eternal dimension. And then next to that, you put another one. And next to that, another one. And you keep doing this as far into infinity that you can imagine. And that's just one direction, if you will, of what it was. You could go the other direction. You could go front, back, up, sideways, crossways. There were all of these universes and dimensions suspended out in this eternal space. The interesting thing that I realized at that point was that each one of those dimensions, universes, had an energetic filament that was connected to it and reached back and attached itself to a spider web-like matrix that surrounded this golden orb that pulsed with the brilliance of a 10 million suns, but yet it was so close I could touch it and not get burned, like it wanted me to merge with it. So there were all of these dimensions and universes suspended here. And I finally realized that what those little jets that were coming out, those little sparks, were going into these dimensions. And I realized that was me at one point before I came into this universe. That was you and everyone listening to this. That's where the origin of us came. And I realized that what I was looking at was the source of all creation, the divine creator, the God essence, if you want to put a name to it. It's more than that, but it's not a personage. It's an energetic, infinite knowledge that was pulsing out. And seeing those sparks, I understood that because that's where I came from, and that's where you came from, or everyone here on this plane of existence, we all carry the DNA of that creator energy. And so we bring it here when we come here. So we are all part of what I had seen. Well, I decided to turn around and take a look what was behind me, because all of these energetic waves were going through me and passing off in the back, as we understand front and back. So I turned around, and what I saw, I can best describe as infinity. And that's because the emulsion of eternity acted like a magnifying glass, so that the farther I looked, the clearer everything became. And I understood that I was looking at this whole scene through a different lens, a different set of eyes, if you will, than the low wattage of my eyes here could never experience and never see. All of this time that I was there in that eternal dimension, there were a dozen people back at the fitness center trying to revive me, trying to get my heart restarted with electric shocks, chest compressions. And this I got from interviewing the people who worked on me. Had I known it at that time, which I didn't, but had I known that they were working furiously to get me back, I would have said, hey, don't bother. This is so good. I would prefer to stay here than go back. and I couldn't call them to tell them that. So it was such a warm experience that has now become a part of me. And somehow I was able to bring that experience in a memory as I transitioned back from that eternal dimension to this one. So they finally did restart my heart. And all of a sudden, I was gone from that dimension. I was now back in my body. I assumed, I didn't realize it yet. And it wouldn't be another 8 hours until I fully understood that I was here and not in that other dimension. So in less than a split second, I mean, not even that, I was there, and now I'm back here. And it was the longest trip I had ever taken in 6 minutes. But it left me with an experience that took me a long time to understand, and even a longer time to try to explain to someone. And as it would turn out, it would be another 7 months before I would be given the answer as to why I returned here. And it was a lot of what I refer to as interdimensional confusion. And now I don't even have to sit down and think about it, because what I experienced in that dimension, I see in the background of everything I look at. I mean, it's always present. It's always there. And I'm thankful for it, because it's very comforting. I like to say that on that early October morning, I became an expert in dying. But I understand that I've now become an expert in hope, because of what happened to me, allowing me to experience that, being able to retain that information and bring it back here and formulate it within the cells of my brain and understand what it all means. So that's pretty much what happened that morning. It seems like a long journey, but it only happened within 6 minutes. But it's taken me several years to really work out exactly what it was all about. We are here, as I understand it now, we are here to recognize the divinity in every person we encounter, every person we don't encounter, every person we like, or every person we don't like. They are of the same DNA, the creator DNA, as you and I are. So it is up to us to accept them. Even though we may not like what they do, we still have to accept them. And there's nothing wrong with not condoning what they do. Not being judgmental, but not condoning. And the second thing is that hope. Hope is the pathway on which each of us can journey through this dimension. And that's what I would like to leave for everybody, because this is not the end. This is just a small portion of our continuation. And what could be better than that?